Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode. Trisha, how are you?
I am doing well. Happy springtime.
Oh, thanks very much. We've had some fantastic weather and some really
Mm.
cold weather. It was actually snowing earlier. So
Oh,
this time last week, I went to my sister's for a barbecue. So we were allowed to go and visit people, but you could only go into a private garden or a park. So we went round to their house for a barbecue. So my sister was there, her fella, and my nephew.
oh,
And I
fun.
went with my girlfriend, and so the five of us just in the garden having a barbecue. It was really good fun. Just yeah, it was just really nice. The weather was nice, and then the sun went down, and it got really cold. Obviously, ever the planner, I made sure that I took some warm clothes. But I wasn't expecting it
Oh,
to suddenly snow today, so I was in the office earlier on and just saw like sideways rain, and then I thought actually that's not rain, that's snow or sleet or something very cold. So yeah, we've had some interesting weather recently. I guess it's actually, there's something I wanted to talk about with regards to the weather. I know that some we sometimes people are like, "Oh, you always talk about the weather," but this is quite an interesting one, I think, because it leads in. It's a really nice segue into the World Series and
yes.
the. I'm not sure if we talked about this on previous episodes, but how they might move the World Series permanently to the fall.
Well, I don't know about permanently.
Discuss.
Let's put a pin in that. Um, we did discuss it before about, there were rumblings that it was going to be moved to the fall for this year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And obviously, spoiler alert, that's what has happened.
Hmm.
So, but then I saw Olivier Bousquet came onto the Twitter, and this might be what
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
talking about, right? And he was like, "Oh, it should always be in the fall time." And then people who I guess are more in the know about how hoteling and conventioning and things like that work than I am were on there saying, "Well, they have it in the summer because it's cheaper to get the space. It's cheaper, like for us as visitors to Las Vegas. So
Okay,
in the
yeah.
fall time, it's going to be a lot more expensive, right? So I thought, oh, well, that's pretty interesting. So now back over to you. Discuss. What do you think now that I've told you
Well,
those
I'm
things?
surprised because when I was a teacher, I could only
Hmm.
go on holidays in the school holidays when it was a lot
Hmm.
more expensive to travel. So, you compare flights like 50% more expensive, accommodation, just way more expensive in the school holidays. So I'm surprised that it's cheaper in the summer to go to Vegas, to stay in a hotel, to rent out space, to hire space.
Well,
So yeah, go ahead.
I actually looked at some numbers because I was like, what is this these people are saying? And actually, it's true.
Wow.
But you gotta think about it. I don't want to offend anybody, but Las Vegas in the summer is like the inner circle of hell, as I imagine it to be, in terms of the temperature,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Just so hot and so dry. I mean, I could imagine, right, that people don't want to necessarily come there and have a heat stroke walking, down
Hmm.
the strip or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And so in the fall time, it seems like Vegas would be perfect. I'm not sure I've ever been to Vegas in the fall time, to be honest. I,
Well,
I
I
can't think
definitely
if
haven't.
I
I've
have.
only ever been
Um,
May, June, July time.
I've been in the middle of the winter, like January, February, like
Oh yeah.
that, and of course in the summertime. But I imagine fall time is probably quite nice and quite lovely. So I don't know. Will they just say, yes, Olivier, you are correct. We will reassign the World Series. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that popped into my mind. Many of the players that come to the World Series are more of your recreational types, or perhaps they've, played in a home game or a bar league or something like that. They're having fun with the game. They want to come to the series. And are they really going to be able to take off from their jobs and families, in the fall
Well, yeah,
time?
that's the thing, isn't it? So like, yeah, it's just like also like the school holidays and things like that. It's easier, that I had someone I was working with. They were in Vegas and they brought their son along, right? And their
Mm.
son wasn't of an age where he could go out and gamble, I just wanted to like chill by the pool all day. So I thought it was really nice. But obviously you couldn't do
Yeah.
that in term time because kid would be at school.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's yeah, it would be nice, I think, with because the weather would be much nicer, and then we would get our summers to be able to go and do other stuff. And of course, like you can
Mm-hmm.
make, you can decide that you just don't go to Vegas for the summer. I think like
What?
sometimes like poker players are
Shut
like,
your
well,
mouth.
how can you possibly miss out on going to Vegas? Like you have to go to Vegas every summer.
Yes.
Once you're a poker player, you have to go to the World Series. You have to play Scoop. You have to play W Cube. You have to play any
You
series that
must
comes
do
along.
it.
You've got to play it. And it's like, oh, come on now, like you became a poker player for the freedom. Like you can if you want to, you can miss some of these events. You shouldn't feel like you have to play these events. But something that I
FOMO is the thing.
go ahead, say it again.
FOMO is the thing. Fear of missing out.
Yeah, that's yeah. But like
You know how it is? Like, let's say you stayed home and then you're on the Twitter or the Instagram and you're seeing like all these posts and you're just like, oh man, I could have been there, right?
yeah,
It's
but
just so
the
hard.
same thing happens when you look at your friends who've gone to you know Bali or somewhere like that.
Right, right.
Somewhere really nice and beautiful. So yeah, I mean, I think it just comes down to like, what do you value? What do you actually want to do? Like, sometimes you might just want to go traveling and have an adventure on your
Hmm.
own or with, with your partner, with your family. So yeah, I mean, I just think that it's important that we don't just like go, oh, well, it's, the World Series is May to July. I mean, that's what I'll be doing every single year. I think so, you should maybe give yourself the freedom to do whatever you like.
Well, we've certainly switched things up the last 2 summers, so
Yeah, I know how
right?
much you love it though, Trisha. Like
Hmm.
you absolutely love it. I guess it's a bit
I do.
closer for you to travel. It's quite far away for us flying over the pond and then some.
Uh,
It's like a
how many
11-hour
how many
flight.
miles is it for you?
How many miles? I don't know, but it's about an 11-hour flight. So
It's pretty far.
it's quite far. How long does it take you to get there? You normally fly or
Well,
drive?
I've done both, and for most of the years I've driven, and it's 2 full days driving,
Oh wow.
and I mean full days because I live in Texas, which is a huge state.
Yeah.
So it takes as long to get out of Texas as it does to go the rest of the way.
Wow.
So, and keep in mind, I live in central Texas. It's not like I'm all the way, right? If I was even more east, it would, right? So the first full day is just getting out of Texas.
Well,
And
I
then
can't
the
imagine
second day.
driving for 2 days. What? Yeah, but I guess that's quite a common thing. Whenever I'm reading books, I'm reading a John Grisham book, and
Mm-hmm.
it was very. I think he's an American author, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a drive from New York to somewhere, and it was like a 6-hour drive. Now, I don't think I've ever driven for 6 hours. I mean, I've done like a
What?
bus journey down the east coast of
What?
Australia before, but like
Mm-hmm.
I've never got in a car for 6 hours. Like yeah, maybe a few hours. From here to London is like 3.5 hours. I've done that
Wow.
before, but yeah, it's just not something that we do. But I think in America, it's more of a common thing where you guys are like, yeah, 2 days, nothing, let's go.
No, it's definitely not nothing. In the last couple of years, I've flown, and yeah, there's pros and cons to it, right? Because when I drive, I have my car out there, and when I fly, of course, I have to rent a car, and
Yeah.
the car rental, they really stick you on that, right?
Hmm.
When you're doing a long-term rental like that. So, but the time you save because flying, it's like 3.5 hours. Yes, compare that to like 2 days. But then on the other hand, road tripping is fun, right? Um, hit us up on Twitter if you love a good road trip. And you go, you get the snacks, you get your beverages, non-alcoholic if you're driving, of course, and right, you got your trashy magazines, and you've got your XM radio, and right. So, but yeah, 2 days in each direction. Yeah,
So
I'm flying. So speaking
yeah.
of the series, it has been announced that barring something drastic, it is planning to go on from the end of September and through like middle November. So obviously it's a compressed time frame. So they can't be offering as many events. But I did see in the little press release that they are planning to do a I think I read this correctly, a $5 million guarantee event called the Reunion. And I'm thinking that may be one of their, it didn't have a buy-in listed for it that I saw, but I'm thinking that maybe that's going to be a lower buy-in, maybe like a 565 or a
Yeah, yeah,
thousand,
yeah.
something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, probably. So what do you say? It's like the end of September until when? The
Yeah.
middle of November?
Yeah. So
So
what
that,
is that? Like a 3 week, 2 week, I don't know. It was, I think September 30 through November, something in the teens,
yeah.
I think.
So I don't know if you haven't had your morning coffee yet, Trisha, but that
No.
strikes me as the same as it used to be, like from the end of May to the middle of July, right? Because it has the whole month of
Oh,
June
you
in the
know
middle.
what? You're right. I was thinking, I forgot about October.
Yeah, you can't forget about October. That's when I
I
was.
forgot all about
That's when my
October. I was
birthday
like,
is.
wow. I was like, that's really short. September. Yeah,
So
look,
I just
the
saved you there,
quarantine.
Trisha. Right? I just saved you from
Thank,
loads of abuse on social media that
the
you thought.
quarantine has gotten me. I've just forgotten whole
It's because
months,
you've had the
right?
vaccine and your brain's gone, hasn't
Got a little loopy.
it?
That's so
Well,
funny, right? That I can forget a whole month. Whatever. It's like I've forgotten the whole last year.
so something that
Okay, you're right. Now you made me just extra, extra excited and happy. Thank you, Gareth.
well, you're welcome. So yeah, something that I wanted to talk about. I was listening and watching the Solve for Why vlogcast the other day. Shout
Oh,
out to our friends over there, Berkey and Soto. And Berkey was saying that he thinks it's going to be like there are players in the States who are chomping at the bit to get in and play live tournaments, or to play live poker in general.
okay.
And he
Okay.
thinks that they're going to set new records for the number of entrants in tournaments and stuff like that. Now, we talked about this before, how I thought it's going to be the smallest World Series for a long time, because who's going to, like, okay, the States, people, everyone in the States is going to be there. But what about all the other countries in the world? Like, I think, I don't know, I feel like maybe it's a wash. Maybe it ends up being the same number, but minus a lot of, players from outside of the States. What do you think?
Well, it's very interesting because you're still going to have a lot of Americans who are not vaccinated,
Mm.
right? I don't know what the World Series is going to require. Are they going to require a proof of vaccination? I don't know about that.
Yeah, no,
Then
don't
you've
know.
got the fact that it's in the fall, and as we've now discussed, September, October, and November. So all the kiddies are in school,
Yeah,
right? So like if you have kids, that may preclude you.
yeah.
So I don't know, and like you said, there are a lot of countries where they're not going to be flying. I don't know, is it because they won't be allowed, or there just won't be enough vaccine, or I don't know, right? It's a lot of
Yeah, I mean,
logistics.
I guess like it's just, yeah, you're right that we don't know. It's an unknown thing at the moment. But I just can't see how. I mean, what are we talking here? Like 5 months, and just, yeah, maybe just under 6 months time. Most, if not, no, I think all of the UK will be vaccinated then, right? So we should be fine,
So you're good
fine
to
to
go,
come.
UK,
But it just
right?
depends whether or not the UK is like, yeah, it's safe to fly to the States, right? So you can fly to America
Because,
and then you don't have to
right,
quarantine when you come back or anything like that. But if there will be some countries where the rate of vaccination is low, and the
yes,
UK are like, nope, you can't fly there. If you do fly there, you have to, quarantine for 14 days or 10 days in a hotel or something like that. So I think it just makes things more challenging. And if you were like, in between, like whether you wanted to go or not, and you were like, do you know what? Like, I think maybe next year is going to be like, when everything's a lot freer, and you'll just be able to book without, any kind of, I know, but they're talking about vaccination passports over here. I don't know what it's like
mm-hmm.
in the States.
The word or term has been brought up, and people are very mixed
Yeah,
on what they think about it.
same here, I think.
Let me tell you something. When I showed up to college, they were like, girlfriend, we are hitting your ass with an MMR, like booster, which is measles, mumps, and rubella. And I was like, what you mean? I had that, right? I had all my shots. Here's my record, right? You have a shot record. And they were like, yeah, but I don't know, whatever the reasoning was. But they're like, you're getting a booster and that's it. I was like, okay, give me the booster. And they did, and that was, and they wrote it on my little record. So we have shot records already, and at least, you know, back in the old days when I was going to school, you had to show up and right, and they required certain vaccinations and whatever. And but now people seem to be freaking out. Some people, not everybody, over the idea that you would have to show proof of vaccination for this. And I'm like, it's kind of weird because, even with my dogs, if I want to board them, I have to show their proof of vaccinations, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just, I think people are so worried. They say, oh, well, I don't want the government knowing my business. And I'm like, do you have one of these? And I'm holding up a cell phone right now. And it's like, if you do, you're being tracked
Yeah.
all the time. I got news for you. And I'm not saying that to, like put the fear of God or whatever you believe in into anybody. But watch an episode of Dateline sometime, okay? It's like,
Yeah.
yes, we track the cell phone or the CCTV. Let me tell you something. You got cameras on you all day, every day. CCTV, you think you're going about your business. You're like, I'm at the Walmart buying that tarp and a shovel and some lime. I've watched too much Dateline, kids. Forgive me. But yeah, it's all on camera. It's all
Yeah.
on. So anyway, I don't know. People are been out of shape about it. And there's some people who are like, I'm not getting this passport. But then what was interesting is I saw a guy, he does like political polling type stuff. And he had a focus group. And everybody that was in this focus group was anti-vaccine, passport, the whole nine, right? And he was like, well, what if they say you have to have it to get on a plane and go somewhere? And all these people that were like, no, 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 they were like, yeah, probably get it then. So I think you might be saying, or some people might be saying right now, like, no, I'm not going to do it. But then if it comes down to, do I want to go on this holiday? Okay, give me the shot,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what the World Series is going to do, but I'm looking forward to it. And in my mind, I'm going to go. I might even go during October now that I know that that's a thing.
Brilliant.
Yeah, see if I can hit up a few, especially if they're going to do this 5 million reunion thing. That sounds fun. But one thing I did want to say is to Berkey's point and Soto, I don't know who was making the point that it was going to be a huge extravaganza, but that would almost assume that we have brought in a whole bunch of new players into poker in America, right?
Mm.
And have we? I don't think so. Like, what would
Yeah,
have
I
been
don't know.
going on that would have drawn in new players to our game?
Yeah, I don't know if loads of new players have been found. Like, I guess some people will have turned 21. That's but like I guess other people who were due to go may have croaked. So I'm not sure. Maybe it evens itself out. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I just thought it was fascinating to listen to that because like I think that it's not going to be the biggest we've
No,
seen
I
for a
don't think
while.
it will. I
But
don't
Berkey
either.
was quite was quite adamant that he really felt like that, and there have been a lot of live tournaments in Vegas. Interestingly, actually, one of my students, shout out to Paul in Vegas, he said he went to the Venetian a couple of weeks ago,
Uh-huh.
and he got there just before the start, and he was like alternate. I can't even remember, like 176, right?
Yeah.
And he ended up waiting for hours to get in, right? And so clearly, like the demand is there, but like it's one thing to to have like deep stack at the Venetian or whatever kind of tournament it was, but then to have a whole series of events and like thousands of people descending on upon the Rio, I'm not sure.
Well,
So
I can imagine that, maybe the weekend events could be huge, right? Because people can come in for the
that's
weekend,
very
but
true, actually. Yeah.
how many people are going to be there Monday through Thursday,
Hmm.
you know? That could be a little light. So I'm thinking maybe you could both be right that in
Yeah.
that during the week it's very light and on the weekends it's like madness and all hell is breaking loose, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, maybe, maybe. Well, I guess, like we've said on previous episodes, only time will tell. But yeah, I'm excited for you, Trisha. I think I might be living my WSOP experience vicariously through you once again. I did that. What year was that? 2017? Because I was definitely there
probably
2018 and 2019, so it must have been 17. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think that's right because I think we recorded something. I was in my old condo.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
got in there and we recorded an episode, and you were at home back on the other side of the pond.
Yeah. Well, so talking of series, Scoop started a couple of days ago. So we're recording
Yeah.
this on the 6th of April. And yeah, Scoop started on the 4th. I've had, yeah, I mean, not so much, too many, not really a deep run. Although, funnily enough, like on the Sunday, I can't remember what tournament it was, but I finished 10 minutes before the end of day two. No, not really that day two is a thing, but I think that some players look at it and they're like, oh yeah, it's nice to make a day two because it means that you're closer
Mm-hmm.
to the final table or to winning it
Yeah.
and whatever. But really, it's just an extension of the same tournament and something we've definitely talked about before. And then last night, I finished 1 minute before the end of day two.
Wow.
So we're getting closer. Maybe the next, the third one, third time lucky.
Yeah.
We'll see. So yeah, I played a decent amount Sunday and Monday, and yeah, I think I've mentioned this on previous episodes as well. I'm not sure if I'll play every day. When we finish the podcast, I'll just say to myself, do I want to play today? And if the answer is yes, then I'll play, and if the answer is no, then I'll go and do something else. And so it's kind of I alluded to it right at the start of this show, just in terms of not feeling like we have to play, right? You don't want to sort of feel like you're a prisoner in poker, like you are forced to play in these events. So yeah, I mean that's how I feel. I think there's the other side of it is like if you're a poker player, why would you not play in these series? Like you're leaving money
Yeah.
on the table, but it really depends like what your goals are. And I talked about this again before but it's a blessing to be able to choose what you do with your time. And so if you're just not feeling it, you don't want to play, then don't play. And if you do want to play, absolutely, then just give it your all.
So when do you anticipate your next event, scoop wise, will be? Like, I would say the one you're really looking forward to.
So it's funny because I haven't even looked at the schedule this year.
So
So normally, what I
you
would do, I
don't
would
really
I
know.
would write a schedule. I
Mm-hmm.
would put together a pack as well. Like I would sell to the bigger buy-ins.
To the masses, sell to the masses, right?
Yeah. So if there are some big events that I just wanted to play, I would sell to them. But this year I haven't done it, and I'm literally just I'm going to play today, load up what's available, and just play it as if it was just another poker day. So I think as well, like I quite like it in the sense that there's zero pressure. There's no zero pressure
Yeah.
to do well. Like if you make, sometimes you can make a schedule and you're getting ready for it and you're super excited, and then
Oh
everything
yeah.
just goes to rat whatever, and and then you just get a little bit sort of frustrated. And I think that I'm going for a slightly different approach. Just gonna turn up when I feel like it. And I think it's not so much that it's not so professional. I would say like it's not so much of a professional approach. So I'm not like getting doing the meditation, the exercise, diet. I mean those things I do anyway, right? It's not like I'm going out
Yeah.
of my way to do extra things. But then doing a schedule and then just getting rid of distractions and really just focusing on the tournaments. Like I almost want to say that like in previous years I've put Scoop on a pedestal. Like I love
Mm.
it. I love these series. But like just make them way bigger than they are. I mean they're just literally they're an online poker series, right? Let's not make them bigger than they are. But at the same time they're like the World Cup or the European
Yeah.
Championships of soccer, of football. So yeah, I mean it's nice to have these events. I think the other thing as well, maybe is the way the reason why I'm thinking like this, is that there have been so many series during the pandemic, like so many, and it kind of takes away the sort of prestige of the Scoop and the W Coop, and Scoop and W Coop are the two that I would always wheel myself out for, so to speak, and play. But I think I think that we kind of the series have just are somewhat saturated now, and Scoop is not so big and important anymore. And also, like I recognize that I'm probably just waffling now, but I think it's 3 weeks of poker, and it shouldn't define your career. It shouldn't define your year. But I think that obviously, if you do well, those big scores during the big series
Yeah.
have a massive effect on your profit. and your winnings for the year. So of course, like, you can't like just forget about it. But I think it's important not to just like have everything resting on one series. What do you think, Trisha?
Yeah, you know what? While you were talking about that, I was thinking how different poker is from other things that one could do. Let's say I'm a gymnast, for example, and I'm training for the Olympics, right? I have to make it up to this top echelon, and then I have to, wait it out, train, get to the certain level to even get to the Olympics, right? And then when I'm at the Olympics, maybe I break my ankle and I'm out. I gotta wait another 4 years or whatever. It's not like that in poker. The way you're describing it, it's like, oh, I can show up anytime. And there's so many series now that, they're just opportunity after opportunity. It's not like in other endeavors, performance-based endeavors, where, we have a very limited window. Okay, like for example, if you don't go to this fall's World Series, the chances are very good that the World Series is going to run again in the summertime, right? And you missed in 2017, and then you were there in 2018, 2019, right? Like, so it's just a matter of months, and oh, we're back. And with the online series, it's even more frequent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like we do get all these opportunities, and obviously you're probably not going to take all of these opportunities. One, managing your energy, I think, is very important, right? And also managing your bankroll.
Mm-hmm.
So who's rolled enough to just like play every single thing and travel to every event and, whatever. It's just a lot. So there's something to be said for managing your energy and really picking and choosing what you want to play. And I wrote down the word, as you were talking, freedom, right? A lot of us get into poker to have that freedom. But if you feel like I must do these things, then do you really have that freedom?
Mm. Well, no, exactly. I don't think you. I don't think you do. All right. Well, I've been sent in a hand. It came through from David in my Facebook group, and they're three-handed. Let me just read what it says here, Tricia. It says, okay, so what are we doing in this spot? Here's the info. Final table of a $33 turbo on ignition. The villain has been on my table since about 3 tables left. He's been very aggressive and shoving pre-flop a lot. He basically only shoves or folds. His stats over 66 hands was 25, 25, 14. There is obviously ICM considerations here, but for me, it's about winning tourneys more than the couple of extra $100 between places. Let me know what you would do. So there are 2 things within this. There's the answer and the solution to the problem, the hand I'm about to describe. And there's also this idea, and I think that's why I really want to talk to you about this, Tricia, is that, he said that, there's obviously ICM considerations, but for me, it's about winning tourneys more than the extra couple of $100 extra, a couple of extra $100 between places. So I think that's really interesting. So let's talk about that in a bit. Let me give you the hand. So they're three-handed, and the button folds. He has 2.5 big blinds. The small blind is the villain.
Okay. Small blind is the villain. Okay.
And he has 25 big blinds. And then Hero is in the big blind with 15 big blinds.
Okay.
So you've got a super short stack on the button. You've got the big stack in the small blind, and then Hero is in second place in the big blind. Hero is dealt ace-10 offsuit, and the small blind shoves, right? So putting Hero at risk with that 2.5 big blind stack. So this is, there are definitely ICM considerations here.
Yes.
So the solution here is that if the small blind is shoving any 2 cards, then you can only call with probably 8s or 9s plus. You can't even call with ace-king suited or ace-king offsuit in this spot. So ace-10 off is definitely going to be a fold. So that's the first part of this question I wanted to talk about. But the second bit, about sort of like, okay, I understand there are ICM considerations, but it's more about winning for me. So I did post a question back, and I did ask. I said, why is it more important for you to win rather than making the best, the highest or the most profitable decisions you can possibly make? I haven't had a response back yet. I'm sure it will come in, but it was not enough time before we recorded today's podcast. So Tricia, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
Well, it sounds like a mindset issue, right?
Hmm.
Winning is more important than making the right decision. You know, that's the thing about poker, right? You can make all the right decisions and get the wrong result.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're like, but I was practically a GTO bot, and and here I am taking the walk of shame. Um, so I think that's really interesting. You know, if you've played sit and goes, you know, ever in your career, it would be like a cardinal sit and go sin to let this 2.5 big blind stack. You know, like you just gift
Yeah.
this person, right?
Mhm.
The If you called off here with your ace 10 offsuit, right?
Yeah.
So people who come from a sit and go background are like, what are we even talking about this for? Because, but it sounds like it, you know, and the other thing that I thought about, I thought you were going to say something along the lines of David was feeling bullied by
Mm.
the small blind because, you know, he said, oh, he only shoves or folds, which seems reasonable.
Yeah. Well,
But
especially in this spot when he's just going to generate
yeah,
so many folds when there's a two
yeah,
and a half big blind stack. I think it's
it's,
hard to make even more money by developing or
yeah.
implementing a limping or a raising strategy.
But then, you know, when somebody brings it up in the question, it makes me think like, oh, is this triggering them? You know, like, oh, the guy's bullying me. And it's more about, you know, I don't want this to happen. I want to show this guy
Yeah, I want to
who's
take a stand.
boss.
Like, oh, you've got to,
Yeah,
you've got
yeah,
to
yeah.
stand up to them eventually. But it's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's that. Like, I think you've nailed it. Yeah, I think if the small blind's been shoving a lot, you're going to look down at ace 10 offsuit and just be thinking like, okay, well, he's been shoving a lot. I can't keep
Mm-hmm.
letting him do this. The thing
Mm-hmm.
is, though, that you absolutely can. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
gets that advantage, right? He covers you. He can put you in some horrible spots. He's supposed to shove any two cards, and okay, maybe he's limping some and raising some, but he gets to profitably shove. Like if he's playing aces as a jam here, he gets to profitably shove three deuce off, and there's literally nothing you can do about it when there's when you're covered and there's a button on two and a half big blinds. But I think it's
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's fascinating insight. Like I love the idea of playing for the win, but not at the expense of making unprofitable decisions.
Yeah. And, you know, it's very interesting because you say, oh, I'm not that concerned about, you know, losing a couple $100 or whatever. You know, I want the win. And it's like, if your boss came to you, if you have a regular job and said, I'm just going to take $200 out of your paycheck this week, I bet you'd not
Yeah,
be happy about that. You'd be like, what the hell?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. But here you're just like, oh, I'm willing to light $200 or 300, whatever it is. I don't know the amounts, on fire because I'm not going to let this guy show me, you know, who's boss. And on the other side of that, put yourself in the position. If you had the 25 big blinds, what would you be doing? You'd be doing the same thing. You'd be
Yeah,
shoving
playing super aggressive. Yeah, for sure.
as you should.
You just have so much fold equity, especially if you are going to play like only eights or nines plus in this situation, then yeah, you're going to be folding a lot of hands, like
You're
90,
all, yeah.
97% of hands or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
I
So
mean,
you
you
just
just
generate
can't,
so many folds.
and you just can't gift the button with the 2.5 big blinds hundreds of dollars. Like I say, if you think about this as a paycheck, you're not just going to be like, oh yeah, I just got my paycheck. Here, Gareth, have a couple hundred
Yeah.
dollars that I worked
hmm
for.
I think like you can look at it in terms of like upside and downside, and like the
Mm-hmm.
downside of busting next is just so huge. The upside
It's
of if
huge.
you win, then you go up to you're the chip leader, okay, and then you can apply a ton of pressure to the small blind, so that's fantastic. The player to your right obviously won't always be in the small blind, but the small blind in this hand, so that's that could be really really great. But I think yeah, there's a reason why ICM is a thing, and I I know it's often debated. I know you always like to bring up the story of Fedor when we met him in 2016 at the Super High Roller Bowl, Trisha, and embarrassingly you introduced me as an ICM expert to Fedor Holtz, which kind of
Which was
like
true.
telling I'm trying to think of like Steph Curry. Oh, this guy's a 3-point expert.
Hey, maybe Fader could have used your help. And I think he could have based off what you said about ICM.
Yeah.
Just
The
putting that out there.
yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, it is a thing. I know that there's some debate, and you know, some of these professionals are saying, oh no, it's not the perfect model, which is exactly what Fedor said, and he told us not to tell anyone. But sorry, Fedor, cat's out the bag now. But I think, you know, I was listening to to a podcast the other day with Dominic Nietzsche, and he was basically saying how a lot of the elite players in the world are just making so many blunders when it comes to ICM that, you know, we all basically suck at poker. Like, let's be honest. Like, we barely know. We know, I don't know, 5% of the game. Like, we all have things to be working on. And I would say, like, until we get a model that is even better and we feel more confident in, we have to use the ICM model that we have. And this is going to tell you that you should be folding here, and losing is going to, you know, is going to cost you real money. And the only person to benefit from you calling is the button.
Yeah.
And like the button then, you know, the button then knows, oh, okay, if I fold, that's actually going to make me money because the big blind's going to, you know, call off way too wide in this spot. But yeah, I think it's fascinating. I think two parts, you know, the solution to the actual hand, but also the idea of like not being pushed around, not being bullied, like standing up. Like, you almost got to push that, you know, to one side and say, you know, he just gets to do this, right? In the same way that, like, you know, a big lad would just be able to beat you up, you know, because he was stronger and he was just in a better position to do that. And there's literally nothing you can do. You can try and stand up if you want, but like, you're probably just going to get, you know, you're going to get beaten up if you try that.
Yeah.
So
You're going to get walloped.
you're going to get walloped. Yeah. So I think, fold the ace-10 offsuit, offsuit, and move on to the next hand. And probably the guy on the button right now is going to bust in the next few hands. No, you know, we're not always going like, oh, okay, we want to ladder, but given that if you did run this in a solver and the small blind was jamming 100% of hands, any two cards, and you could only call 8s or 9s plus, just shows you it's like the ICM pressure is huge here, and you don't want to, you know, just forget about it.
It's kind of funny too. I just want to bring up that he said that winning was more important to him than the ICM. But if you want to put yourself in the best position to win, you would fold right here.
Yeah.
So in this particular spot, they're one and the same.
Yeah,
right?
Well, I suppose, like, because the upside of winning here, like, yeah, you would be the chip leader, but you don't double your chances of winning, right? Because you would, I'm just trying to work it out looking at the screenshot here. You would have, I guess your opponent would have something like 300, to be like 10, he'd have 10 big blinds then, and then you would have 30-ish, I guess. Just trying to work that out on the fly. But yeah, it doesn't mean that suddenly you're like twice as likely or 3 times as likely to win this tournament. So, you know, and the other side is that you bust in this hand and you finish third, and you can't win the tournament if you're on the rail.
Right. So I would say just really try and keep your mind focused on what is the outcome that you want. Make sure you're very clear about that, and make sure you're very clear about, am I getting triggered by something that it's really not a theoretical thing. It's a mental thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And act, you know, accordingly.
Yeah, I think that's really good. All right. Well, let's wrap up today's episode there. Trisha, where can people find you?
Well, guys, you need to get over to peakpokermindset.com right away and get the 10-minute tilt cure, which is for sale. It's been selling like hotcakes, so I don't want you to miss out on that. And otherwise, you can come to my Facebook group, which is the Poker Mindset Mastery Lab. How about you, Gareth? Where can people find all of your wonderful offerings?
So head on over to my website as well, mttpokerschool.com, and join my Facebook group too. I'll post the link to that in the show notes or in the link, the comments or the description of this video if you're watching on YouTube. All right. So Trisha, it was a pleasure as always.
Thank you so much. I love getting together with you and talking about poker, and especially digging around in people's mindsets. It's so fun.
For sure. Yeah. It's been great. And everyone else out there, take care, and we'll speak soon. Cheers. Bye.
Bye, guys.